Today's lesson is going to be on intervals. An interval is the distance between two pitches. The distance between two pitches is interval. So far in your piano playing, you have been playing intervals, but you haven't learned the word interval. So far you've been playing steps and skips. A step is when you move from one key to the very next key, or one letter name to the very next letter name. For instance, if you were playing a C and you moved to a D, you were playing a step. You've also played skips. Skip is when you're skipping over a letter name, you're skipping over a key, you're skipping over a finger. So for instance, if you play a C, then you follow it by playing an E, you have played a skip, as you've skipped over the D. If you were playing a D, then played an F, you would be skipping over the E, so you were playing a skip. We're now going to change the vocabulary for steps and skips. You're now going to be referring to those intervals as seconds and thirds. A second is what you know as a step. A second is when you are moving from one note to the very next note. Okay. For instance, here on our staff, we have an F followed by a G. So you are playing an interval of a second as you are moving from an F to a G. Now when you play the notes singularly or in unison, one note at a time, you are playing a melodic interval. So one note at a time is a melodic interval of a second. Here, you are playing both notes at the same time. Notice how you have one note is on the F, one note is on the G. They're sharing the same stem, so they're played at the same time. This is a harmonic interval of a second. Still the distance between an F and a G. The F and the G, there's the distance of 2. And it's harmonic because it is more than one note played at a time. So this is melodic second and harmonic second. We're now going to talk about intervals of a third, which is what you knew as a skip. Now thirds are a little bit different because they're skipping a note in between. When you're looking at the notes that are written on your staff, if you're written on a space note and a space note with a line in between, that's an interval of a third. An interval of a third can also be written on line notes. So it's a line note and a line note with this space in between. So our intervals of thirds are written on a line and a line, or a space and a space, skipping the line in between. That's for melodic thirds. For harmonic thirds, our notes are written on a space and a space with a line in between, or a line and a line with a space in between, but this time they're sharing the same stem, or they're stacked one on top of each other, so that means that they're played at the same time. Melodic, played by themselves. Harmonic, played together at the same time. You are going to have several activities that you're going to perform today at your digital piano. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to decide whether the flashcards in your folder are seconds, thirds, or repeated notes. So you have to look at each one and decide, is it a second, third, or repeated note. After you've completed that, you have another set of cards. Here, you are going to be practicing playing seconds and thirds. You have to look very carefully at the card. You can play it with your left hand or with your right hand. If you play it with your right hand, you're going to look at the top of the card and see which finger is going to be playing the starting note. If you look at the bottom, it tells you left hand and what finger number is going to be playing the very first note. From there, you have to play the next note, either a third up or a second. You have to follow the directions. So you're moving in seconds or thirds, going up or down. Notice how this one, you're starting with a step down or interval of a second, playing a second down, second up, second up. Here, you're moving from a line note to a space note, so that is interval of a second, followed by a repeated tone. Here, you're playing 3 repeated tones, followed by a step down. So you're going to go through the cards that are in the stack. You're going to be moving in seconds, or in thirds, or repeated tones. Just be sure to look at the top of the card. If you're playing with your right hand, it tells you which finger number you're going to begin on. If you're playing with your left hand, that finger number is written on the bottom of the card. It doesn't matter which notes you choose to play. You can put your hand on any white keys that you want to. Your starting note does not matter. The only thing that matters is the starting finger. If you have questions, make sure to ask me. When you're finished, you have 2 worksheets that you are going to do. The first worksheet, number 13, you're going to be drawing whole note thirds. Then the next worksheet, you're going to be you're going to be drawing whole note seconds. Okay? So you'll be either drawing seconds up or down, or you'll be drawing thirds up or down, depending upon what the instructions on the sheet are. So, 3 activities. You have your intervals that you're going to be playing. You have your interval flashcards and your 2 worksheets, number 13 and number 14. If you have any troubles, please let me know.